very worried that Prince William could move to strip her of her Duchess of Sussex title when he becomes monarch. Of course, Harry and Meghan remain the Duke and Duchess of Sussex despite
extraordinary claims that Meghan Markle is threatening to sue the British royal family and Prince William if her titles are removed.
It's a story that's shaking Buckingham Palace to its core, and insiders say it's unlike anything they've seen before. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, is reportedly losing it, and it's all centered around one thing: her title. Sources tell us that Meghan is absolutely furious that whispers of the monarchy potentially stripping her of her Duchess title have reached her ears, and her reaction has left palace aides scrambling.
I just think it's tacky and it's not a good route to go down.
According to insiders close to the couple, Meghan has gone from calm and measured to a whirlwind of panic and outrage. She's screaming at her team, demanding answers, demanding loyalty, and insisting that no one, absolutely no one, takes her Duchess title away. One source revealed, the palace reportedly anticipated some tension, but Meghan's response has surpassed every prediction. Friends of Meghan say the Duchess feels entitled to her title, not just as a mark of honor, but as a symbol of the life she believes she's fought to build alongside Prince Harry. To her, it's not just a title, it's power, recognition, and validation for the sacrifices she's made in the public eye. And now, the mere suggestion that this could be challenged has triggered what insiders are calling a full-blown panic mode. But the royal circle isn't taking this lightly. Behind the grand doors of Buckingham Palace, advisors and senior aides are said to be working tirelessly to assess the implications of Meghan's potential meltdown. Sources say there have been dozens of private meetings, urgent calls, and emergency strategy sessions aimed at both managing Meghan's response and controlling the narrative before it reaches the public.
Doesn't it make more sense to hear our story from us?
No.
Meanwhile, those close to Meghan insist she isn't just standing by and waiting. Far from it. The Duchess reportedly has a desperate plan in the works, one that insiders describe as bold, aggressive, and carefully calculated to safeguard her title, no matter what the palace decides. According to a palace aide who wished to remain anonymous, Meghan has been consulting with top public relations strategists, lawyers, and her closest Hollywood confidants, crafting a response that could potentially shock the monarchy. It's not just about public perception, the aide explained. This is personal. She feels this is about legacy, her identity, and the life she's carved out. And the intensity of her reaction is unlike anything we've seen before. Social media, of course, has already exploded. Fans of the Duchess, often referred to as the Sussex Squad, have taken to Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, rallying behind her and expressing outrage at the very idea that the palace could take away what's hers. Memes, hashtags, and viral posts have circulated within hours, creating a digital storm that palace communications teams are struggling to contain. Hollywood insiders, too, are reportedly weighing in. Meghan's celebrity connections have been quick to defend her, praising her resilience and framing her struggle as an attack on women's autonomy within institutions traditionally dominated by men. Meghan has always stood her ground, one A-list insider said. This is another example of the establishment underestimating her, and it's not going to go unnoticed. But there's another side to this story. Sources within the palace have described a growing sense of concern over how Meghan's public outbursts might affect Harry, her husband, and their family. According to one insider, Harry is visibly distressed. He loves Meghan, and he wants to support her, but he's also very aware that the optics of this situation are incredibly sensitive. Every move is being scrutinized, and tensions are running high. The situation reportedly escalated when Meghan allegedly called a private meeting with her inner circle late one night, outlining what insiders are calling a scorched earth approach to protect her title. Details remain scarce, but sources say her team discussed everything from high-profile media appearances to potential legal maneuvers, with the overarching goal of ensuring that the Duchess retains her status. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace is said to be taking a cautious, measured approach. While Meghan is reportedly in crisis mode, Palace aides are working quietly behind the scenes to ensure that any public fallout can be mitigated. It's a balancing act, a senior advisor explained. You want to respect the individual, but you also have to protect the institution. And right now, that's proving more difficult than anyone anticipated. Adding fuel to the fire, unnamed sources claim that Meghan's inner circle has already leaked selective details to the press, presumably to shape public opinion in her favor. Early reports suggest that some media outlets are framing this as a battle between the old guard of the monarchy and the modern, outspoken Duchess, a narrative that is gaining traction with global audiences.
But what a week on Planet Meg. She's here, she's there, she's every bloody where. In Paris, in New York, in Washington, saying this, saying that, and, as always with the Duchess of Jargon, saying nothing that makes any sense.
For Meghan, every hour that passes seems to intensify the stakes. Palace insiders describe her as being on edge, meticulously planning every statement, every appearance, and every social media post. One aide said, "She's treating this like a strategic war, and she's not backing down. This isn't just about a title. It's about power, perception, and survival." Sources also suggest that Meghan's legal team has been quietly reviewing precedents and exploring options that could challenge any palace decision to remove her title. While specifics are unclear, those familiar with the situation say the move is indicative of how serious Meghan is about defending her position. As the drama unfolds, observers note that the stakes are higher than they appear. Not only is Meghan fighting for her title, but the controversy also threatens to further strain the relationship between her and Prince William, who has reportedly been frustrated and concerned about the public spectacle. This isn't just a family disagreement, an insider revealed. It's a full-scale reputational battle, and the palace is bracing for global attention. Meanwhile, social media chatter continues to escalate. Hashtags like #SaveTheDuchess, #RoyalFight, and #MeghanStrong are trending across platforms, reflecting a groundswell of support for the Duchess. Fans have been posting videos, graphics, and opinion pieces that frame Meghan as a modern woman standing up against an outdated system, further complicating the palace's communication strategy.
Which is royal commentary. And an interesting revelation about King Charles.
Hollywood, too, is buzzing. Friends and colleagues of Meghan reportedly describe her as fierce, unapologetic, and determined. Some insiders claim she's considering appearances on high-profile talk shows, interviews, and even strategic collaborations that could bolster her public image, all while reinforcing her argument that her Duchess title is integral to her identity. However, not everyone is convinced. Royal commentators warn that Meghan's aggressive tactics could backfire, leading to negative press and increased scrutiny. One former palace official commented, "Meghan is walking a tightrope. The more forcefully she pushes back, the more risk there is to the institution and to herself. It's a high-stakes game, and the outcome is far from certain." As Meghan's plans continue to unfold, insiders say Prince Harry is trying to balance his loyalty to his wife with his desire to protect the family's reputation. "He's torn," one source explained. "He wants to support Meghan fully, but he also understands that the palace is watching every move, and the media is already circling. Every day brings a new development, from leaked statements to social media campaigns and strategic media appearances. Meghan's team appears committed to ensuring that the Duchess's voice remains front and center in the conversation. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace is said to be monitoring every move, preparing for a crisis that could redefine the relationship between Meghan, Harry, and the monarchy itself. What's clear is that this is far from over. Meghan Markle is reportedly ready to fight tooth and nail to keep her title, and sources say the Duchess is all in, emotionally, legally, and publicly. Whether her efforts succeed or backfire, one thing is certain: the royal family has never faced a storm quite like this. And while the palace braces for the fallout, the world watches, captivated by every twist and turn. The stage is set for a dramatic showdown between Meghan, her team, and the institution she married into. A battle that insiders say will not be forgotten anytime soon. The palace wasn't caught off guard, at least not entirely. Behind the gilded walls of Buckingham, advisors were reportedly bracing for Meghan's next move. Sources say there were emergency meetings in the early hours, urgent calls to media teams, and detailed contingency plans drafted to counteract the inevitable storm. But even with every precaution in place, insiders admit that Meghan's retaliation exceeded expectations.
And she's currently interviewing candidates to be chief executive mastermind of her business, which people have pointed out this is...
According to royal sources, the Duchess of Sussex had been quietly assembling a team of PR heavyweights, legal advisors, and Hollywood allies to defend her title at all costs. "This isn't a casual response," one palace insider said. "This is a calculated, full-scale operation. She's treating it like a campaign, and every step is meticulously planned to hit where it hurts." And hit it did. Within hours of news leaking about the potential stripping of her Duchess title, social media erupted. The hashtag #MeghanStrong began trending worldwide, with fans rallying behind the Duchess and condemning the palace's attack. Influencers, celebrities, and even former co-stars voiced support, framing Meghan as a modern woman standing up to a centuries-old institution. The palace communications team scrambled to respond, releasing measured statements about internal discussions, while carefully avoiding any comment that might inflame the situation further. But behind the scenes, the tension was palpable. Insiders say Prince Harry was in an emotional tailspin, torn between loyalty to Meghan and his desire to maintain some semblance of peace with his family. "He's devastated," a source close to the couple revealed. "He wants to support Meghan, but he's also aware that the optics are brutal. Every move she makes is being dissected globally, and it's taking a toll on him emotionally." Meghan, however, was reportedly unrelenting. Sources say she ordered a series of strategic leaks to select media outlets, designed to portray her as the wronged party and to garner public sympathy. "She's controlling the narrative like never before," one royal commentator said. "Every interview, every post, every public appearance is being weaponized to reinforce her position and protect her title."
Are there any fans of Meghan Markle in tonight?
No.
At the same time, palace aides were quietly preparing a counter-strategy. Emergency PR teams were mobilized, briefing senior royals on how to respond to media inquiries and social media backlash. Insiders describe a tense atmosphere, with advisors weighing every word, every gesture, knowing that a single misstep could escalate the confrontation into a full-blown international scandal. The battle lines were clear. On one side, Meghan and her carefully curated team of advisors, lawyers, and celebrity allies. On the other, Buckingham Palace, armed with centuries of tradition, institutional power, and a media apparatus designed to control the narrative. Sources describe the air in London as electric, with courtiers and aides whispering about the most significant royal showdown in decades. Meanwhile, Hollywood was watching with fascination. Meghan's inner circle reportedly advised her to leverage her celebrity connections, using interviews, high-profile public appearances, and strategic social media campaigns to pressure the palace. Friends of the Duchess allegedly suggested that by framing the story as a fight for women's autonomy and respect within the monarchy, she could rally global support. And according to insiders, Meghan embraced the plan wholeheartedly. As the days passed, the story dominated headlines around the world. Analysts noted that the palace had not released a single aggressive statement, instead relying on measured messaging and quiet diplomacy. But Meghan's team was unrelenting, feeding carefully curated information to sympathetic journalists and influencers. "It was like watching a chess match unfold in real time," a source said. "Every move was calculated, every response timed for maximum impact." Reports from social media indicate that fans of Meghan flooded platforms with messages supporting her cause, while critics decried her tactics as manipulative and opportunistic. The backlash and support were so intense that palace staff reportedly had to brief senior royals on how to navigate public appearances and interviews in the coming weeks. Sources close to the palace say that Prince William and other senior royals were deeply concerned about the escalating situation. They knew Meghan would push back, but they underestimated the speed and intensity, a palace insider admitted. William was frustrated. He understands the importance of public perception, and right now, the narrative is spinning out of control. Despite the tension, Meghan's public appearances remained poised and calculated. Insiders claim she delivered speeches, charity appearances, and media interviews that emphasized her dedication to public service, all while subtly framing herself as a victim of institutional overreach. Every statement seemed designed to reinforce her legitimacy as the Duchess of Sussex and to counteract rumors about her title being in jeopardy. Palace staff, meanwhile, were working tirelessly to contain leaks and manage the fallout. Advisors monitored global media coverage, tracked social media trends, and coordinated with communications teams to ensure that any public statements aligned with the monarchy's messaging. Sources describe a sense of urgency in the air, with courtiers worried that a single slip could result in irreparable damage to the royal brand.
What they're saying, what all of us YouTubers and platforms are saying, because you need to do something differently. How does this end well for you?
The tension wasn't just public, it was also deeply personal. Sources report that Prince Harry spent hours on the phone with Meghan, attempting to mediate between her and the palace while managing his own feelings of frustration and fear. He was trying to protect her, but he was also trying to protect the family, an insider revealed. It was emotionally exhausting for him. Every conversation felt like a minefield. As Meghan's campaign intensified, Buckingham Palace reportedly considered a series of contingency plans, ranging from controlled media responses to private negotiations aimed at preventing a full-scale public confrontation. Sources indicate that senior aides were acutely aware of the delicate balance. Any misstep could inflame global audiences, potentially harming the monarchy's reputation for generations. Meanwhile, Meghan's team reportedly escalated their efforts. Legal advisors were said to be exploring every avenue to ensure that her title could not be revoked without significant legal pushback. Media strategists were briefing journalists on key talking points, emphasizing Meghan's philanthropic work and her global influence. And celebrity allies were instructed to lend their voices to the cause, creating a united front of support. The result? A public showdown that quickly spiraled into an international media event. Every statement, every appearance, every social media post was analyzed, debated, and dissected. Fans and critics alike were drawn into the drama, and the palace reportedly found itself navigating one of the most complex PR challenges in recent memory. Sources say that behind closed doors, tensions were reaching a boiling point. Meghan was reportedly furious that any suggestion of removing her title had even been raised. She's told everyone around her that this isn't just about a title. It's about respect, identity, and legacy, an insider revealed. And she's willing to fight tooth and nail to protect it. By the end of the week, social media, Hollywood insiders, and royal commentators agreed on one thing: the stakes had never been higher. Meghan's retaliation, combined with the palace's careful, measured response, had created a situation where the world was watching, and no one could predict how it would end. And as the global audience waited with bated breath, the palace reportedly prepared for the possibility that this showdown could redefine the relationship between Meghan, Harry, and the monarchy forever. As the media storm reached its peak, Meghan's counterstrike didn't just hit, it detonated. Sources close to the Sussex camp reveal that within hours of the palace signaling their intentions, Meghan unleashed a calculated media offensive that combined celebrity support, strategic leaks, and subtle jabs at royal protocol. Every move was designed to make it clear. This wasn't a dispute about etiquette, it was a fight for survival, and Meghan was refusing to back down. Insiders say that her team curated a timeline of accomplishments, philanthropy, and public appearances to remind the world why she wasn't just a duchess in name, but a global figure with influence far beyond Buckingham walls. High-profile friends in Hollywood were enlisted to publicly defend her, making statements that framed the palace's move as antiquated, patriarchal, and unfair. Within hours, news outlets were flooded with commentary. Think op-eds, social media posts, and influencer videos all painting Meghan as the wronged party. Meanwhile, inside the palace, the tension was palpable. Prince William, who had previously endorsed discussions about title changes, suddenly found himself at the center of a backlash he hadn't fully anticipated. Courtiers describe a scene of quiet chaos, emergency meetings, rapid-fire memos, and advisors weighing every possible scenario. The prince, usually composed and measured, reportedly showed signs of frustration. "He's feeling the pressure," a source close to the palace said. "He understood the optics before this blew up, but he didn't expect it to spiral this quickly or violently in public perception." The royal communications team worked tirelessly, sending out careful statements emphasizing tradition, respect, and family unity. But Meghan's counterstrike had shifted the narrative. Social media was ablaze. Fans worldwide rallied behind her. Trending hashtags like #MeghanStrong and #RespectTheDuchess filled Twitter feeds, while critics accused the palace of overreach and inflexibility. Each viral clip, quote, or news story amplified the drama, making it nearly impossible for the monarchy to contain the narrative. Sources reveal that Meghan herself became increasingly hands-on during this phase. She reportedly reviewed press releases, coordinated with legal advisors, and even approved social media posts to ensure her messaging was precise, resonant, and impossible to ignore. Every public appearance, from charity events to quiet walks captured by photographers, was strategically framed to reinforce her position. It was meticulous, deliberate, and incredibly effective, a source said. "She's treating this like a war, and she's executing every move with precision." Prince Harry, meanwhile, was caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Close friends say he oscillated between fear, frustration, and determination. On one hand, he wanted to shield his family from the fallout. On the other, he supported Meghan's fight for her title and reputation. Sources say long phone calls, late-night strategy sessions, and private conversations with trusted advisors became routine, as Harry tried to balance his loyalty with the reality of the escalating crisis. "He's in the eye of the storm," one insider said. "He feels torn between two worlds, the palace he was born into and the life he's built with Meghan." But Meghan's counterstrike wasn't just public, it hit internally. Leaks from palace insiders revealed disputes over the logistics of title removals, the timing of announcements, and the optics of each decision. Rumors of rifts between William, Charles, and senior courtiers began to circulate, creating a sense of fragility in a system long seen as unshakable. Observers say Meghan's calculated moves had effectively exposed internal tensions, turning private debates into public speculation and forcing William to confront the consequences of his own palace gamble. The drama escalated further when Hollywood weighed in. Celebrities and influential commentators took to social media, interviews, and podcasts to discuss Meghan's side of the story. Analysts dissected the palace's messaging, scrutinizing every word for tone, implication, and intention. The combination of royal intrigue and Hollywood spectacle created a perfect storm, one that both fascinated and divided global audiences. Meanwhile, Meghan's legal team reportedly explored every avenue to ensure her title could not be stripped without significant pushback. Leaks to sympathetic journalists hinted at potential lawsuits, strategic appeals to public opinion, and leveraging her charitable work as evidence of her continued relevance and influence. The palace, in turn, quietly prepared responses to counter these moves, aiming to assert authority without escalating the conflict further. By midweek, the situation had reached unprecedented levels of intensity. Palace aides describe a state of emergency in communications offices, with teams monitoring social media in real time, drafting rapid-fire responses, and coordinating with legal advisors. Every headline was analyzed, every tweet scrutinized, every interview dissected. "They've never dealt with anything like this before," one insider admitted. "Meghan's approach is relentless, and the world is watching." The human toll inside the royal circle became evident. Sources report that William, normally a steady presence, spent long nights reviewing internal reports and communications drafts, visibly stressed about how the situation might affect public confidence in the monarchy. Advisors reportedly cautioned him to maintain calm, emphasizing that any overt display of emotion or frustration could be weaponized by Meghan's team. But even with careful planning, The optics of the royal family being caught off guard fueled media speculation. In California, Meghan's camp reveled in the mounting pressure. Close associates say she was energized by the challenge, treating the confrontation not as a crisis, but as an opportunity to solidify her global influence. Each new article, each viral social media post, and each celebrity statement was part of a broader narrative strategy to present herself as the modern, empowered Duchess standing up to a centuries-old institution. The result? A global spectacle of power, influence, and strategy. Meghan's counterstrike not only protected her title, at least temporarily, but also forced the palace into a defensive posture, revealing fissures that had previously been carefully managed behind closed doors. Experts say the combination of public pressure, social media advocacy, and legal maneuvering created an unprecedented scenario for the monarchy, forcing senior royals to reassess their approach. As the dust settled, temporarily, sources say both Meghan and the palace understood that the confrontation was far from over. This phase of the battle had been won on multiple fronts: public perception, media control, and celebrity endorsement. But insiders warned that the war for narrative dominance was ongoing, and every future move would be scrutinized by global audiences, journalists, and social media users alike. The palace, according to sources, began drafting longer-term strategies to address both public opinion and internal dynamics. William and other senior royals were reportedly focused on rebuilding the narrative around tradition, service, and family unity, while simultaneously monitoring Meghan's next steps. It was a delicate balance, asserting authority without provoking another wave of public backlash. And Meghan? She appeared unshaken. Observers describe her as calculated, confident, and increasingly adept at using the spotlight to her advantage. She's learned how to manipulate public perception and leverage influence like a seasoned strategist. One insider said, "Every move is intentional, and every response is measured." She's playing a game that few understand, and she's winning, for now. In no time, the showdown had transformed from a simple dispute over titles into a global spectacle of strategy, power, and influence. Meghan had executed a counterstrike that exposed the palace's vulnerabilities, amplified her own global platform, and forced senior royals, including Prince William, to confront the unintended consequences of their decisions. The battle lines were drawn, and the world was watching, waiting to see who would emerge victorious in this unprecedented royal drama. The stakes could not have been higher. Meghan, emboldened by the early success of her counterstrike, launched what insiders are calling her final gambit. Sources close to the Sussex camp reveal that this plan was audacious, high risk, and calculated to hit the palace where it hurt most: public perception. Every move, every leak, every celebrity endorsement was orchestrated to make it impossible for Buckingham Palace to act without looking heavy-handed, or worse, out of touch. Hollywood's elite quickly became involved. Celebrities, influencers, and even journalists sympathetic to Meghan amplified her narrative, framing the palace's attempt to alter her titles as archaic, patriarchal, and unjust. Instagram posts went viral. Late-night talk shows ran segments dissecting the royal family's alleged hypocrisy, and op-eds flooded newspapers worldwide. The media frenzy wasn't just fast, it was relentless, a 24/7 storm that left the palace scrambling to respond. Meanwhile, Meghan herself appeared in highly curated public appearances. She attended charity events, posed for magazine covers, and even gave subtle interviews, hinting at the injustice she was facing. All carefully timed to coincide with the palace's internal deliberations. Sources say she personally approved every detail, from lighting to wardrobe, ensuring that each moment reinforced her narrative of strength, resilience, and moral authority. Inside Buckingham Palace, tension reached a fever pitch. Prince William, already strained from weeks of public scrutiny, reportedly held emergency meetings with senior courtiers and advisors. The challenge was unprecedented: how to assert royal authority, maintain tradition, and protect the monarchy's image, while Meghan's global media machine continued to dominate headlines. Insiders describe a scene of controlled chaos: teams of PR professionals, legal advisors, and palace aides working around the clock to prepare statements, anticipate leaks, and strategize every move. But Meghan's gamble came with consequences. Sources reveal that some of her closest allies grew uneasy. Hollywood insiders who initially defended her began to voice concerns privately, worried that the intensity of her campaign could backfire. Strategists whispered about oversaturation and narrative fatigue, warning that the constant barrage of public messaging might eventually erode sympathy rather than build it. Even within her inner circle, tensions surfaced as debates raged over whether to push harder or pull back. For Prince Harry, the stakes were deeply personal. Close friends report that he oscillated between frustration, fear, and determination. On one hand, he was determined to support Meghan and protect their family. On the other, he feared the long-term consequences of a fully public showdown. Private conversations with advisors became tense and emotional, with Harry caught between loyalty to his wife and awareness of the potential fallout on the royal family. Then came the palace's ultimate response. Sources reveal that senior royals, led by King Charles and with input from Prince William, decided that the best way to neutralize Meghan's final gambit was not to escalate, but to assert calm, decisive authority. A carefully worded statement was released, emphasizing tradition, service, and the long-term responsibilities attached to royal titles. The messaging was firm, yet measured, designed to reassert control without feeding the media frenzy further. The effect was immediate. Media outlets dissected the statement, noting its unusual tone of calm firmness amid the chaos. Analysts commented on the strategy. Rather than engaging directly with Meghan's attacks, the palace had chosen to remind the public of institutional stability, subtly undercutting her narrative of victimhood. Social media, which had been dominated by pro-Meghan commentary, began to show signs of shifting. Hashtags praising her resilience were still trending, but discussions of tradition, duty, and the monarchy's role in modern society began to reemerge. Meghan's team scrambled to respond. Sources describe hours of frantic strategy sessions, with advisors debating whether to double down, pivot, or attempt a softening of tone. Every public appearance, social media post, and media interview was suddenly reevaluated in light of the palace's decisive statement. Some insiders admit that even the Duchess herself appeared unsettled for the first time, realizing that the palace's calm, methodical approach had neutralized much of the momentum her counterstrike had gained. The global response was electric. International media covered every angle, comparing Meghan's aggressive, high-profile campaign with the palace's measured institutional response. Commentators speculated about the long-term implications for the monarchy, royal titles, and the Sussex brand. Hollywood insiders debated whether Meghan's media blitz would strengthen her global influence, or whether it had painted her as overly combative and self-focused. Behind closed doors, the palace reportedly celebrated quietly but remained vigilant. Advisors emphasized that this was not a final victory, only a strategic stabilization. Any misstep from Meghan or her team could reignite the media storm, and the monarchy had to remain prepared. Sources indicate that surveillance of media coverage, social sentiment, and potential leaks continued around the clock, ensuring that the palace could act quickly if needed. For Meghan, the outcome of her final gambit was a bitter lesson. While she had succeeded in amplifying her voice and putting the royal family on the defensive, the palace's calm, measured response had diffused much of the drama and reasserted their authority. Friends close to her say she realized the limitations of media power when faced with centuries of institutional weight, a realization that, at least for the moment, forced her to reconsider her strategy. Prince Harry, meanwhile, remained a stabilizing force, attempting to shield his family from further fallout while continuing to support Meghan's rights and titles. The emotional toll on him was significant, with insiders noting moments of visible stress and exhaustion. Yet even amid the pressure, sources say he remained determined to protect the family and mitigate the crisis, navigating between loyalty, love, and the public spectacle unfolding around them. By the end of the confrontation, the palace had effectively delivered its ultimate, decisive word: calm, firm, and institutionally backed. Meghan's media blitz had showcased her resilience and influence, but it also highlighted the limits of individual power against centuries-old tradition. The world watched in awe, debate raging online and offline. As the drama reached a fever pitch, leaving royal watchers, media outlets, and the public to speculate on what this showdown meant for the future of titles, family, and the Sussex brand. In the aftermath, analysts agree on one thing. This was a defining moment in modern royal history. Meghan's audacious gambit, Harry's loyalty, and the palace's strategic response had combined to create a drama of unprecedented scale, one that will be studied, dissected, and debated for years to come. The lesson, insiders say, is clear. Even the most powerful media campaign can be tempered by the careful application of calm authority, and even the most determined public figure must contend with the weight of centuries-old institutions. The dust may have settled for now, but the global fascination with Meghan, Harry, and the palace shows no sign of slowing. Every tweet, statement, and appearance continues to be scrutinized, a reminder that in the modern royal landscape, power, perception, and legacy are always intertwined, and that the next chapter is never far away.